Hello, viewers, and welcome to another episode of Reminiscences. Today, our guest is Colonel Sani Bello, who has had a distinguished career in the military and has been a military governor of Kano State, for those of you who can remember. And then I think had a second life in business where he led so many business ventures and became a very successful corporate titan. Thank you, sir, and welcome to Reminiscences.
Thank you.
Let me start by asking whether being an only child, which is rare in your time, 80 years ago or more, has any influence or impact on the choices you made in life and how you turned out?
I don't think my being child had any relevance to what I turned out to be in my later life. Because even though I was the only child from my parents, I didn't grow with my parents initially. I grew with my grandfather, with my grandparents, and sent usually to an Islamic school with other children. In those days, first children never really related well with their parents, because there was this kind of shyness between parents and their first child. So I didn't miss that, because growing with in my grandfather's parents' house, there are many other grandchildren like me. And of course, grandparents' behaviors, as you know. Grandparents tended to be, I wouldn't say spoil, but tended to treat their grandchildren softly.
To indulge.
Yeah, so that they'll come to love them. And which I did. I must say, I had a very good upbringing from my grandparents. They looked after me very well.
This was in Kontagora?
Yes, in Kontagora, actually. And I was there throughout literally all my primary school and even part of my secondary school. I went back to my father's house after I have already developed in Form 3. By that time, I had already formed my own life, and then I met some other smaller, younger ones than myself. So I didn't have any relevance.
You went to Bida, Government College Bida, with this famous set of classmates. I think 7, 8 of you who. 2 became head of state, many became governors. What is special? What's special about this group? Is it the Bida thing, or just a coincidence that all of you went into the military and all of you made a big success of it?
Well, I wouldn't say all of us deliberately wanted to go to the military. When we were in secondary school, I think around 4 or 5 or so, the late Sardan of Sokoto came to our school, literally canvassing for young men to go to the army, become officers. According to him then, he said it was unacceptable to him, and of course to the government of northern Nigeria then, to say that we formed about 75% of the other ranks, and we had less than 15% of the officer corps in the north. I think we took it seriously, not really wanted to join the army. Then, as fate would have it, in those days, to go to university, you had to go through what they call then higher school certificate, HSC. And HSC, to get into HSC, you must sit for common entrance examination. For us then, our school was not qualified for this common entrance exam as a center for the examination. So what happened to us then was some of the quote-unquote bright boys were selected to sit for the exam. And the center was Government College Kefi. So I think about 16 or so or 17 of us were selected to go to Government College Kefi out of 25. We went to Kefi, sat for the exams. And then as we were finishing the exams, the army came up. Literally all of us went to the HSC exams, went to sit for the army examination. And more like a hobby. Not really all of us were serious to join the army, to be honest with you. Now, we sat for the exam. The result, it became exciting for us because we found over 1,000 people across Nigeria coming from all walks of life. Some of them with long GCEs, 6 subjects, A-levels. By that time, we have not even done our school certificate yet, 1962. So, and we were told by the officer conducting the army exams that every day you should come, in the morning when you come, go to the board. There was a board there. If you saw your name on the board, just go to the paymaster, collect your money and say goodbye. You are finished. So the challenge was there. So every day we went there. Our names were not there. We said, wow, hurrah. Well, of course, after every event, there were several events. Medical examination, physical examination test, written examination, then interview. So after each of these, you go to the board. After medical examination, go to the board. Did you see your name? No, my name is not there. Thank God, I'm well. Then next stage, you go physical examination, obstacles, go to the board. Did you see your name? My name was not there. Next. So that's how it is. Unfortunately for us, almost all of us came through. We received results. Congratulations, you have been accepted in the army. And again, as God will have it, those of us who passed the army examination in the class were also the same that passed the HSC entrance examination.
This group of 10, of course, they became very well known later. Do you have a name for yourselves? Are you personally close with all of them? I can mention, these are names that are well known.
These are people who we sat in the same class for at least 6 years. So must have personal relationships. Of course, for me, somebody like Mogoro and Sani and Nasco were in the same primary school. And Dubai was the same primary school. In the case of Dubai, even the same junior primary school. Mogoro and Sami too were close, and Nasco were all close. At Dubai, of course, we're all close. We are the surviving ones left now. Who else again? I think those are only. Funny enough, those of us who went to the army are the only ones surviving in the class, in the school now, except 2 other people. All the rest have died.
So after Sandhurst, where young officers were trained, and you were one of them, you were posted to Enugu. Is that your first posting in the military?
Yeah. After my graduation at Sandhurst on 29th July 1965. Notice 29th July 1965. I was posted to Enugu. So my company by that time, which I was posted to in the battalion, which is an internal posting, was operating in Benue. This was during the Tiv riot. So obviously, my commanding officer, after 2 or 3 days, shaking hands and saying goodbye, you have to go to Benue and join your company. So I went to Benue, to Makadi, where I met my first company commander, late General Jalo, a good gentleman, a fun gentleman. Late General Gibson Sade Jalo was my company commander then. And he too, initially he he left me in Makadi for some time. And after that, I think Boko was catching fire. So he said, Sani, you should go to Boko. I said, thank you, sir. I went to Boko, spent about a month or so there out too. Things improved. Then Aliedi caught fire. Aliedi was the hottest of the Benue crisis. So I was asked to go to Aliedi again. I went to Aliedi. I was there until January 10th, 1966, when the company was supposed to be relieved. It was supposed to be relieved by another company for another battalion. So we went back to Enugu, January 10th, 1966.
So the coup met you in
Oh, yes.
the January 15th?
The January 15th coup met me in Enugu. By that I spent 5 days in Enugu. 5 days in the battalion, which is
Was it personally dangerous for you because it was seen as a coup that is led mostly by Eastern officers?
No, what the coup happened, we didn't know what was happening. First of all, I was a young officer, very young officer, a brownie, a freshman from the
Second lieutenant.
Second lieutenant. Suddenly we were told there was a coup. Coup by who? Who organized it? We didn't know. It was then there and then we were assigned the responsibilities to do what to do. For me, I was assigned to join another company, which was not my original company, headed by one Captain Joseph Hedbo, to go and take over the government of Benin. Then the OC, the commanding officer, officer commanding of the company, Joseph Hedbo, captain, said, Sani, let's go. He was an ex-Sanders too. So he said, let's go. I said, where? He said, come up with me. I said, okay, sir. I followed him. We went. He knocked at the door of the governor's house. Sorry, premier's house. And a steward came out, dressed in white and white, said, I want to see your Oga. I want to see the Oga. He said, Oga? Now? Oga is sleeping. So go and tell him to wake up. I want to see him. Steward saw a soldier. Probably that was the first time he was seeing a soldier. Obviously, the first time he was seeing him in Benin. And he saw a stiff, tough-looking captain. So he went and called, told the Oga at the top that there are some soldiers in the house waiting want to see him. Soldiers now? Said yes. And they said, you must come and see them. After a few minutes, we were still waiting. He came down, looking furious while he was being disturbed. My OC stood up, saluted smartly, said, sir, I'm directed to come and take over your government. He looked. You must be joking, he said. I said, no, sir, I'm not joking, there's a coup. The man looked bewildered. He said, look through the window. The premier looked through the window and saw some soldiers and machine guns around. He piped down. What would you like me to do? The premier asked him. He said, sir, I would like you to bring all your ministers for me to meet them, to address them, and to give them time to vacate their houses. I said, okay. Arranged. Time arranged. They came. They were called. He started calling them himself. They assembled. He told them what is happening. The commander of my OC, my Oga, spoke to them to say, look, the government has changed, the military has taken over, and you should vacate your houses immediately and go to your villages. He gave them such a short time. I can't remember how much time now, probably 3-4 hours to leave. And there was a mass scramble in Benin then for everybody to get out. By that time, we didn't know exactly, well, I didn't know. I told you I was a very junior officer.
Yes.
I didn't know what was hot. Then, by that time, we were settling down to enjoy Benin.
Yes.
Suddenly, we received a signal back from our battalion, from Enugu, to say we must rush back quickly back. To abandon everything in Benin, to go back. By the time we went to Enugu, we found the whole battalion was deployed outside Enugu. Mortars were arranged. Well, of course, that time there was no artillery. Water was arranged, everything was arranged. Everybody was in trenches. Trenches were dug. I'm not sure what was happening, so we asked. Then we were told that we were asked to come back because there were some officers coming with armored vehicles, these small armored vehicles, ferries, to cut us off. They were afraid they would cut us off and deal with us. That's why they wanted us to come back to reinforce the battalion.
So they were against the coup?
They were, because they are coming to punish Enugu for not participating in the coup, for not doing what they are supposed to do in the coup. We didn't do what they are supposed to do. Apparently, they wanted us to do some killing there, but it was not done in Enugu. So everything was peaceful in Enugu. Everything was peaceful in the barracks. So because of that, the Lagos organizers were coming to Enugu, and that's why our battalion was uncomfortable. They wanted to come back quickly because otherwise they could cut us off and probably deal with us. So we went back and joined the defensive position of Enugu. It was only afterwards, later in the day or in the morning, following morning, we were told that the attack has failed because they could not come. They were stopped at Ore. Somehow they were at Ore, they couldn't move. So they went back. Then it was then we started seeing the kind of coup that was being organized. We settled down in Enugu peacefully because we were there waiting to hear new orders. We still remain loyal. We didn't do anything in Enugu.
Loyal to who?
The central government, not the coup.
By that time it was...
It was apparent the coup has been crushed, will be crushed.
Yes, General Egui Ironsi has taken over.
Has taken over.
Yes.
So after that, after we spent a few days, Ejo was the commanding officer. He took a few of us with him to go to Benin. After about a month or so again, I was called back to Enugu, where I stayed for some few weeks before I was still deployed. I was then asked to go for an interview to become ADC to the Supreme Commander.
Did this surprise you?
More than surprised me.
City, Enugu, officer from Niger?
To go to ADC Supreme Commander, I said, wow. How? I was not in any way qualified to be ADC to the Supreme Commander. Why? Because I was a second lieutenant. 2, and they needed a captain. I would take the captain. The one there was a captain. 2, I was in the battalion for less than 1 year, so to speak. By all indications, I was disqualified. Aradua said, we are the one nominated by the battalion to go. Shehu, how can I go? Shehu and I were contemporaries.
He was not a captain by then.
No, he was second lieutenant like me.
Okay.
He was second lieutenant. But adjutant. Adjutant is a very, very powerful person in the battalion. So I said, Shehu, why me? He said, well, the CEO said you are going. I said, okay. I went there. He gave me a Land Rover, headed to Lagos the following day. I got to Lagos. When I got to Lagos, I think, if I remember, it was a Saturday. I went to the Supreme Headquarters, which is the State House, old State House of Marina, by Kakawa. Sorry, Marina. So when I went there, I met one Captain Sylvester Onyekwe. I saluted him smartly. For me, I knew Captain Sylvester Onyekwe because we were at Sandhouse together. He was in his final term when I was coming in. Unfortunately for me, we were in the same college. He was surprised. I said, well, I'm asked to come and attend the interview for ADC selection. He said, wow. He said, you are late. The interview has been conducted and finished. I'm gone. Everybody has gone. And you are late. What? I said, okay, sir. I saluted smartly and turned my back and said, Sam, I'll go back to Enugu. He said, I don't know what he thought. He said, well, stay. Let me talk to the chief of staff. Generally, he called the chief of staff on this open intercom. He says, one second Lieutenant Sani Bello from 1st Battalion is here for ADC selection board, sir. We're going to pay.
This was General Ogundupi.
General Ogundupi, yes. He was a brigadier general. And of course, Sylvester Wayekwe was the captain. And I was a second lieutenant. Look at the gap. So he said, what did I hear you say, second lieutenant? He said, yes, sir, second lieutenant. From where? He said, from 1st Battalion. He said, oh no, we have no time for second lieutenants in this place. He said, okay. He said, Sani, you had it? I said, yes, sir, I had it. No problem. I'm going back. Then, after small banties, I said, I'm going. He said, okay, you can go. As I was about to go back, suddenly, Brigadier Ogundupi called ADC. Sylvester, he said, sir, is that second lieutenant still around? He said, yes, sir. He said, tell him to wait. I'm really tired of this 1st Battalion commanding officer. Every time he doesn't do the right thing. I think it would take him to even give him a rocket to take to his commanding officer. I said, oh, a rocket to take back? By that time, my stomach started taking water.
So they were blaming Inugu for sending you?
Yes. First of all, I was late. Why was I late? Not only was I late, they said, a brownie, a second level of no relevant value, a dispensable item in the army. So it was, after some time he called, he said, Sylvester, bring that officer. We went, I saluted. He started, he bled, he was angry, he was not good. He was not happy that every time 1st Battalion is not complying with the instructions, blah, blah, blah. As if I was the commanding officer. I was only the smallest of the pack. Well, I'll take you to, we're tired of this commanding officer. At least the spring commander will give you a rocket to click your commanding to your commanding officer. By this time, I became a jelly. My legs were shaking. He begins, shall I go tell my commanding officer that I received a rocket for him, for a spring commander?
What is a rocket?
Like a reprimand.
Okay. Military lingo.
Yeah, military lingo. So, I sat down. Then after some time, General Rossi himself came out, spoke something to Ogundupi, and they went back to the office. After a few moments, he called back to say the ADC should bring me. So I went to the office, to his office, and as I was entering the office, which is like this frankly, he was looking for something. I don't know what he was looking for. I later on found out he was reading something. Probably something about me. I don't know. So I saluted smartly.
So Sylvester was his ADC?
Was his ADC?
Yes.
Yes, he had been his ADC. He was outgoing to go and take over command.
Okay.
So he turned to Sylvester. He said, sir, have you shown Sani his room? Sylvester said, room, sir? He said, yes, room. I said, he's taking over from you. I couldn't hear. He said, no, sir. He said, okay. Take him to Madam, introduce him. I will take over from you. So will you be able to start work on Monday? This was a Saturday. I said, Monday, sir. He said, yes, Monday. I said, sir, I came here for interview. I was told to come here for interview. He said, the interview has finished before you got here. Okay, we can come by Wednesday or Friday. Thank you, sir. I saluted. Both Captain Wayekwe and I saluted and walked out. He took me to Madam. He said, Madam, this is...
So Madam is the next important person in the hierarchy.
Oh, yes.
When you are appointing ADC.
Oh, yeah. You must, because you work a lot with her. So he took me to Madam. He said, Madam, this is Second Lieutenant Sani Bello. He had been with me. I knew him from Sandhouse, blah, blah, blah. To give me some kind of polish, which I didn't deserve. I suppose to make me look more important. And he's taking over from me. She welcomed me nicely. So, okay, I wish you well, blah, blah, blah. So we went back to Sylvester. He told me what to do and what not to do. I said, okay, thank you, sir. Saluted and left. Went back to Enugu. In fact, went back to Benin the same day. Stayed with Ejo again because Ejo knew me, as I told you. I worked with him. He said, how did you go? I said, it went well. He said, I guess so. From there, I suspected what happened. Probably he discussed with Ejo about to be. I suppose so. But I was never
Ejo
told.
was a military administrator.
He was military governor.
Okay. So he has spoken to the head of state.
I guess, no, I didn't. I'm not sure. But I guess so. Because when I said, he said, how did you go? I said, it went well. He said, I guess so. I said, okay. The following morning, I went to Enugu quickly, packed my bags and baggages. Of course, I didn't have anything. After 2-3 days, I went back to Lagos. Now, when getting to Lagos, I found something which is a little odd. Later, General Rossi had 4 ADCs: Army, Navy, Air Force, and Police. And they're all assigned duties. Despite the fact that I was the youngest of the lot, and also the newest in the pack, I was still given in charge of the duty. So it went like that.
But did you take over from the overall, become the overall ADC, or
yes.
you remain? Everybody has his own role.
No, I took over, but he is in the role. He has gotten his own assignment. But every time the Supreme Commander was going out, it was with me.
You are the official ADC.
I was the one who sits next to him in the car.
For me, looking at it from outside, I'm surprised that Ironsi appointed you as ADC, even ignoring the normal processes and just picking on you.
I'm even more surprised than you. To this date, I never knew why. More surprised than you.
Does it say something about the army? Is it an attempt to balance, maybe?
No,
haven't taken over?
I don't know. But if of the 4 ADCs available, one was already a northerner, the police ADC. So it's not necessarily balancing. And I don't know. I don't know what he saw. Why me? That's the question. Because first and foremost, I must the first admit that I was the least qualified for the job because I was not ready for it.
You said so.
And I was too young. I was only 23. I was under 1 year at the unit. Then, as an officer, I was taking over from a captain. And look at a captain. The gap between a captain and a second lieutenant is high, especially in those days. A captain was a very, very, very senior officer, company commanders. So
how was it being ADC to Ironsi?
It was good. It was demanding because you see, Ironsi demanded the best because he had been very experienced. Ironsi was the first and probably only African officer who was equerry to the Queen.
Who was?
Equerry to the Queen.
Equerry.
Yeah, and before he became, when Queen was coming, he had to, I think...
Like an ADC to the Queen.
Yeah, like an ADC to the Queen. When he was coming to Nigeria, I think he had to stay in Birmingham Palace for some days or for months to be trained on the etiquette of being an ADC. So because of that, his demands were very high. And he was very impatient sometimes. A few times we had some clashes, which were not very pleasant to all of us.
So it was a tough job for you?
It was a tough job. It was a tough job.
Were you there on the night of the coup when he was killed?
Oh, sure.
What happened, sir?
Sure. After, let me just build up because you may not understand. After the coup, there are many other events which followed.
After his coup, after he took over.
After he took over, there are many events which have followed. There was what was called the May riot, which you may not know. There was a huge riot in the north, which killed a lot of people.
Especially Igbos.
Yes, especially Igbos. And later on, fortunately, peace was restored. And after the May riot, things settled down. And Ironsi decided to embark on going to meet the people. So we came to the north. We visited north, we visited Kaduna, we visited Zaria, we visited Kano. And in all the...
Not Sokoto?
No, not Sokoto, all the 3, no. all the places which we visited, we were apparently received well, without any incidents. Probably there was slight incident which happened in Zaria, which is small. Somebody was accidental discharged by a soldier, but it was not an issue. It was not meant for us. After Lagos, things started to simmer down a lot more. Then Rossi decided to embark on tour of Western Nigeria. Southwest. Not Western Nigeria. It was called Western Nigeria, not Southwest.
That's true.
So we went to Abeokuta. And Abeokuta were received well. Everything went well. Everything apparently well. I now said apparently well. From Abeokuta went to Ibadan. I think we got to Ibadan on the 28th. When we got to Ibadan on the 28th, Irasi Fajwi, of course, was there. Irasi Fajwi.
The governor.
The governor. Fajwi. The governor then was Fajwi. Adekunle Fajwi was the governor, a lieutenant colonel, a colonel. Then the 3 ADCs were there, myself. The Air Force ADC called Andrew Nwanko, lieutenant. And then the police ADC, who was a superintendent police, DSP, Timothy Pam. And there's one other person that was never mentioned in that group. That was Thomas Agui Ironsi. Thomas Agui Ironsi. His son. Who was with us then. He came from UK on school holidays. So he was joining us for this tour. Now, we went to Ibadan. The reason why we went to Ibadan was Ironsi was to address the Council of Emirs, Obas, and Obis, all in Ibadan. And they assembled in Ibadan. The address was to take place on the 29th of July, 1966. We were there. We were supposed to have cocktail by 7:30 to 8. We sent an invitation for that. But in the last minute, the general said, no, we should change it to make it between 6 to 8. So we had a cocktail, 6 to 7. So we had the cocktail, everything went well, and we all retired.
For the night?
For the night.
This was after receiving the emirs and the chiefs?
No, not yet.
To this following
day? This is 28th, on 20 that night, the following one, 29th. The meeting of emirs of chiefs will be on 29th. 29th. So we retired. Then by about 12 o'clock or 1, we started hearing something is happening. The general called Ranks called me to say, the Commissioner of Police, Lagos, called me to say there's arrived in Ikeja Barracks. Ikeja Cantonment. I told to tell Oga, so I called him.
On the intercom?
On the intercom. To tell him that then later on, the Commissioner of Western Nigeria called to say there's an uprising. Oh, sorry, the one in Ikeja was mutiny, he said. Then later on, Commissioner of Western Nigeria, Commissioner of Police, Western Nigeria, called to say there's an uprising in Abeokuta. And with few casualties. I should tell the Supreme Commander. I told the Supreme Commander. By this time, he said, every one of us should be in uniform. We got into our uniform. About that time, something happened. Something extraordinary happened. There was after some time, there was a Land Rover coming in. So because they were facing, because the rooms of wherever they were sitting, the two guys were sitting, they could see the Land Rover coming in. Yes. So first we called his ADC to say, AB, go and check. I saw a Land Rover coming in. Who is coming in so late in the night? So he said, okay. So the three of us, AB Umar asked me and Timothy Pham to escort him. So we escorted him. And As we were escorting him, there was a telephone ringing back. So he said we should go back to answer telephone. We went back and allowed him to go because he was used to the house. We are guests. So as he left the house, after we separated, we were just going back to answer the phone. Then there was a shot of submachine gun, one shot. Then there was a return fire of a pistol, one shot. And we knew Abu Umar had a pistol in his pocket. And then there was a salvo of submachine gun. So
many shots. Yes.
Too many shots, rapid. So we assumed Abu Umar was dead. So we said, oh, Abu Umar was killed because we assumed he was the one. Then we went back. Of course, by now everybody knows something is happening.
Yes, inside the government house.
Inside the government house. So we were there. Then we said, after some time we thought like, let's see whether we can see Abu Umar. In case he's not dead. Before he bled to death, if we can rescue him. We went out. I met one officer. He said, we said, we're looking for Abu Umar. He said, we have him. We have him? Go back. We said, okay. We went back. He was a senior officer. By that time, I don't know anybody in Ibadan. So we went back. We have him. Did they kill him? Did they hold him? We don't know. After some time, Oga said, okay, let's get drivers.
So by then you're in touch with, you are together with Eronsi and Fajui in the same place?
In the same place.
Yes.
No, we don't see them, but we can talk to them.
You can talk to them.
Because we are separate wings.
Yes.
So after some time, Fajui said we should send for vehicles. We started sending orderly to bring vehicles. Unfortunately, government house, Ibadan, to me it was a very badly constructed house. All the services were outside the government house. You can't have a car, even one car from inside. You have to go outside.
Wow.
Going outside means you have to pass through the gate. That's the control gate. So we sent this orderly, never came back. We sent almost 2, 3. And then there was one Sergeant Bello who was very loyal to Ransi. Very old Sergeant Major. He had been with him. He said, he'll go in. I said, okay, Sergeant Major, go. So he went there. He never came back. Then finally, I decided to go. I said, I'm going myself to see what is happening. This was around 7 or so.
In the morning?
In the morning. And I was very unlucky. As I was going out reaching the gate, the police that are going to escort us to Mapo Hall, where the address of emirs or bis or bans will take place, were coming in as our escorts. So I presume, not that I'm sure, the coups assumed that I called them to come and give us support, and I came to receive them. So they arrested them with all the dignitaries, like the press secretary, like Hamza Ahmadu, who was then, I don't know, I remember him, Hamza Ahmadu. They were all arrested and pushed to the guard room.
So you were also arrested with them?
Yes, I was also arrested with them.
You look like as if you came to receive them.
Exactly. So I was arrested together with them and pushed to the guard room. It was when I got into the guard room, I knew what happened. Everybody that we sent was captured and detained there. That's why I never came back. So we were completely lost of any kind of information. In the guard room, we were there. We peeped through the window, can see the window, the guard room. Then we saw General T.Y. Danjuma and one officer, I can't remember his officer now. I can't remember this officer now. One other officer, younger officer, junior officer. To him, he might be a lieutenant. I think he was a lieutenant then, also lieutenant. They went to the house and brought Fajui and Iransi. When they brought them out, they opened the guard room.
The guard room?
Yes.
Where you were?
Where we were. They asked them to enter the Land Rover, the two senior officers, and ask us, the military ADCs, 3 of us, to enter. That's making 5 of us in the Land Rover. We entered the Land Rover, 5 of us. And we were driven to God knows where. Later I was told along Owo Road.
In the bush?
In the bush. Not on the road. Now, one thing which I forgot. When we are having this crisis, before I was captured myself, I called a friend of mine. I was just coming back from Sunday, so I didn't know most of my classmates, their locations. But I knew 1 or 2 of them. One of them was late Ibrahim Umar. So I called him Lieutenant. He was in Abeokuta. He was an Army Corps officer, a very good officer, a very good friend of mine, my classmate. So I called him. I said, Ibrahim, it's very hot in Ibadan. He says, it's hotter here. I said, hey. I said, it's very hot. I'm not likely to stay alive without shooting. He said, okay, Sani, can you stay alive for the next 2 hours? I'll come with my armored vehicle to rescue you. I said, 2 hours, Ibrahim? It's too late. You won't meet me. I'll be dead. We drove some distance outside. In those days, there used to be a small forest along this Owo Road on the left. Small forest on the left. So unfortunately, all the leaders of in that truck, on that convoy, were NCOs. Not one single officer. So suddenly, the staff officer took initiative. He was holding a machine gun. Not some machine gun, a machine gun. So he cocked and took a step back and put his hand on the trigger. I said, no, sir, here. He said, I said, no, sir. Let's go into the bush. Let's go into the bush. Wow. So Sami saw the danger he was facing himself. So he said, okay, let's go to the bush. We were ushered inside our Land Rovers again. And we drove. We drove for some time until we reached a level crossing. I still remember it vividly. Railway crossing, level. Then it was, I don't know whether it's flyover now. I think it's flyover now. When I reached there, we turned right into the bush, as was demanded by the staff sergeant. We drove for some distance. Well, I would say probably 2 kilometers, 1 kilometer, whatever it is. I can assure you I was too scared to remember what. But anyway, we drove for some distance and we stopped. As we are stopping, as God will have it, Lieutenant Dada, the adjutant of 4th Battalion, who I spoke to earlier on, was not able to locate Mogoro. So he decided to come and see what was happening in Government House. You understand?
Yes.
So he came to the Government House. I found the Government House was empty. So he asked, what happened? I think somebody told him they followed Owo Road. So he decided to follow Owo Road and pursued us. So that stop which we had in a small forest gave him time to recover, to cover the distance. Just as we were landing in where we are stopping for the execution point, Dada was there. Then he said, Ebi and the Rachel were the same intake, were the same course in military college. He said, Ebi, Sani, Andrew, jump into my Land Rover. Of course, our major started murmuring of disregard of something, trying to disobey. But that was a very, very influential officer, very strong officer, adjutant. So he said, we should jump. He said, keep, specifically Dada told them to our ears, keep these 2 senior officers here until I await further instruction. That's what he said. And he said we should jump into the Land Rover. As we were jumping into the Land Rover, we had a machine gun fire. Dada rushed back. What happened, Sabijo? So he was trying to run away. And we shot him. Who was it? Fajwi. They killed Fajwi when we were there. I don't see the body, but we heard the shots. But they told Dada, they killed him. So he said, okay, keep this in our officer and wait for the instruction. Don't do anything until you hear from us. So they said, okay, sir. That's the last I heard of your answer.
What happened to Thomas Aguirre?
Good, that's a very good question. I told you Thomas was not left alone now. Thomas with a police cop, Timothy Pam, yes. The other ADC.
Yes.
Timothy
The two of them were together.
Timothy, they were the only ones, now they are the only ones left in the house. So Timothy Palm, as he told me later on, he said, after everybody has gone and the place is quiet, no more sound at all, he realized there were only two left in the house. He said to Thomas, we are the only two left in the house. My duty left is to take you back to your mom. That's my duty. I will take you back to your mother. But you will do what I tell you to do. He said, yes, sir. Timothy Palm, fortunately, he was a very experienced policeman. He served in CID, he served in SIB. I'm sure you remember SIB. So he was very experienced in all these covert operations. So he went to the town and brought this Fulani dress with hats, glasses. He took one, he gave Thomas one. He said, okay, let's go to the train station. I head for Lagos. He took him back to Lagos to his mom. And that was the end of the relationship then. Timothy was back to his house because he had his house. Unlike him, I was staying in State House. So at that time, everything was, then after some time we went back to Lagos.
Yeah. But this was a northern coup, clearly.
Oh, it was.
Were you seen as somebody who was part of it, or was somebody who opposed to it because of your role?
No, I was not part of it. Neither was I opposed to it because I had no knowledge. I was caught off balance. I was caught between and betwixt, and I had so many stories being said. Some of them outrageous. So I had an agreement with my Igbo colleague Andrew Nwanko that in case is in Igbo coup, he will rescue me. In case it's a Hausa or Northern coup, I will rescue. There was nothing like that. There was never such agreement. But we were all looking for survival collectively. The only person who did not go through the kind of harassment we went to is Timothy Palm. And of course, Dennis Okujagu of the Navy, that we left at home.
Let me take you to another coup, which then you are a more senior officer in the army. You are, I believe, the commandant of 81 Division in Kaduna here. And then this coup, which brought in Murtala, you seem to have been part of the coup that overthrew the government of Gawan. Certainly you held Kaduna for the coup. Am I right to say so?
Not right. It was not possible to hold a coup without involving somebody in Kaduna. And while the coup was being planned, I was initially not involved, but later on I was involved. How did I get involved? Even though I was in Kaduna, but my family were in Ikeja.
Lagos.
In Lagos. And I used to visit them once in a while, every weekend, rather weekend.
But you sensed something was happening maybe?
No, I thought probably school pranks. We went to Lagos. In fact, then there was one airport commandant there, Atta, in Ikeja. We sat there watching TV because it was around 7 we got, and there was news 7. Then we appointed military governors. I had it from the airport, and that was supposed to report to Durham Barracks the following morning. So we went to Kano. That's how we.
Why, do you think this is a reward for your, or because of your link to the officers who directly to?
No, I don't think it's any kind of reward or link. I think they looked at officers with competence, some kind of qualities, of leadership that they think they could rely upon.
And how was governing Kano for you? You were relatively a young man. Was it difficult?
It was difficult. I knew nobody in Kano then. My first secretary of the government, Alpha Wali, was helpful, but apparently not very popular with the Kano people. especially the civil servants. I don't know why. Then I had my brush with the late Murtala Mohammed, because Murtala Mohammed wanted to strengthen my government.
You are remembered in Kano, one of the highlights of your achievements is the science secondary schools, which of course we know how they help to bring a new generation of graduates from the sciences. Is there any other thing that you think has been omitted from your tenure in Kano?
Well, I think I was all around. We had, first of all, even the irrigation part of it. When I came to Kano, fortunately, Outback has done a lot. He planted the seed of irrigation or agriculture in Kano State. He had Kadawa irrigation and pilot scheme in Kadawa, by the way. He had a pilot scheme in Kadawa irrigation, and which was small, very small. Kadawa is you could see it's there. Now, when I came to power, when I came to Kano State, he constructed some dams. Even Tiga was not completed. I completed it, Tiga. And the rock castle, I built it, or finished it. He wanted it to be for the Queen. I changed it to something else. He started it, I finished it. Now, Kadawa irrigation was a very small scheme, very small. Then one day, the former agriculture minister, federal agriculture minister, one Dr. Bukar Shaib, came to me. He said, Your Excellency, we had a problem with your predecessor. I said, what problem do you have? He said, this irrigation which was started by him, we wanted to take it over, federal government, so as to expand it for more value. But he refused. He said it's his project and he didn't let anybody take it. I said, why? I asked him, if you would expand it, who will manage it? He said, you. Who will share the plus? He said, you. Who will look after it? You. Everything is ours. All they want to do it to expand it for our people. I said, why? Please go ahead. You can go ahead and do it. So that's how the Kano West Canal came into being. And later on, the Kano East Canal, I started Chala Gorge Dam, which has been finished. I didn't finish it. I started it, which provided more water for the Kano East Canal, the irrigation sector. So I think we did a lot also. In the roads, quite a number of roads we built. By the way, I'm in the Kano Hospital. We started it. If I tell the history of Amin Kano, you may be wondering how. When we came to government, there was this kind of excitement to take over all missionary institutions, hospitals, schools, what have you. So my commissioners obviously came and said we should take over St. Louis, St. Thomas, the Rano, and all the missionary institutions, and the hospital, the hospital. I said no. They said, but all other states have taken over. Why not you? I said no. Then when they insisted, I said, okay, let me ask you a question. Are we going to compete? Are we going to pay them compensation or we'll seize it? They said, no, we'll pay compensation. If I'm going to pay compensation, why don't you build our own and compete with them? By the way, how much of this institution, how much money do we give to these institutions? They said nothing. I said, okay, let's give them some kind of support, subvention, and then insist, like Santuli, and they insist on a seat on the council and also quota. All these missionary schools. And the money which we are going to pay them for compensation, we build our own schools. The money we are going to pay compensation for the hospital, this missionary hospital, we go and build our hospital. So with that money for the hospital, we built one additional ward in Dasara Hospital and started a clinic, not hospital, that one which now came to American Hospital. That's how it started. And that, if you look around in the north, Kano State is probably the only state that did not take a missionary hospital, missionary institutions. We didn't take, because I refused. I said we should compete. And the money which was supposed to do that, substantial part of the money, we transferred it and built the Dawakim Tofa and Dawakim Kudu. And that was the money we used. that's what gave birth to the science secondary schools.
You had a rich career outside the military when you retired eventually after being governor and then principal staff officer. I just want to touch on two. One, as a diplomat, as ambassador in Zimbabwe. I don't know. That's a bit strange. But did you look for that job, or did you enjoy it when you got it?
First of all, I didn't look for the job, or the job looked for me. And this friend of mine, a good friend of mine, Ibrahim Babangida, who had been a very good friend of mine, and from school, masterminded it.
So that's the beginning of you moving into business, because I remember
Exactly.
you became chairman of.
Babangida was very kind. When I was leaving Harare, he didn't leave me empty-handed, even though I rebelled against what he wanted. He was very kind. He appointed me chairman of Chase Merchant Bank then, later Continental Merchant Bank. So I didn't move from foreign service to emptiness. I moved to become a banker. And that was the best experience I ever had, because it opened my eyes from being a routine military officer who could not count more than 10 without my fingers. Now I'm in the bank. I started learning a little bit of how people are managing funds and resources, what they can do with resources. And it really gave me a good insight into what I want to do in future businesses.
But in the businesses you are, you have also done very well. Not just oil, but telecom, being MTN vice chairman. And indeed, I saw somewhere in our biographies that says you have made vast sums of money in business now. One of the few military officers who...
I'm not sure about vast sums of money. I'm comfortable. I'm not saying I'm poor, but I'm comfortable. I'm not rich, but I'm comfortable. I'm in energy sector. That's the only thing. I'm getting old now. I'm older now, rather, not getting old. I'm old now. So I don't want to have any more adventures. I'm managing this to stay in the power sector and for some time. And after that, I say goodbye to the business and allow it to the younger generation.
Is this some of this money channeled into the Sani Bello Foundation? What is?
Oh yes, my love is for education and Sani Bello Foundation. I have a foundation which helps disadvantaged people, young people, women, widows, orphans. We give scholarships. We hold annual medical outreaches. This year we held one during my birthday, which we operated and treated over 400 people. Likewise, we have done. So far, I've treated over 3,000 to 5,000 people since we started.
It seems you have no plans to retire.
Oh, even if I have no plan, the retirement will force me to retire. And I think I have retired from the army.
But you have retired from business. You're still active.
I think I'm getting less active now. I'm leaving the younger generation to take over the metal and to say thank you. I think I would like to see the younger generation. Fortunately, my sons are doing very well. I have 10 sons, and each one of them is doing fairly well in his own little bit. So I'm very happy. God has been very kind to me and given me good health, which is most important. I really appreciate. I'm still around.
Yes. You still look strong for 80, and we wish you long life and continued service to the community. Viewers, I hope you stayed with us on this very entertaining, very interesting program with Colonel Sani Bello, who has traversed many areas of life and is still going strong. Thank you very much. Until we meet another time, goodbye.